I raised my nephew for 12 years, then my sister show up and told him. When I, 43F, was 18 and when my sister, 47, was 22. F at the time had my nephew, let's call him Luke, with her then BF, now husband. My sister and her husband didn't have any interest in Luke when he was born, so I took the role of taking care of him. I got my grandmother, she's an angel, to watch him while I was in my last year of high school, in exchange for me cleaning and cooking for her on the weekends. My parents weren't much help either. They would give me about $100 a month for Luke. And if you have a kid, then you know it's not much. Me and my grandmother were the only ones to take care of him. A year after I graduated from high school, I was kicked out with my nephew because my parents, sister, and her husband didn't want to deal with us anymore. My sister said she wished she never gave birth to him. I immediately went to my grandmother, and we went to a family law attorney, and I got custody of him, and my sister and her husband signed their rights to me. I lived with my grandmother, and when I went to community college and my part-time job, she watched my son, Luke. It was a lot of work, especially when my grandmother passed away when my son was 6. My grandmother left 90% of her things to me in her will, which caused my parents and sister to reach out to me under false intentions, to meet my son and I to reconnect. That didn't last long, and I told them they could either act right or never see us again. My dad decided to actually reconnect with my son and I, and now we are close. While my mom and I don't really talk much, but she treats Luke nice. When Luke was 8, both me and my sister became pregnant, and that's when my sister decided she wanted my son back and started to tell him that me and my husband wouldn't love him anymore once my actual son came along. My husband met my son when he was 5, and we were already together for a year before he met my son. My husband treats Luke like his, and we got married when my son was 7 and adopted him when he was 9. With my son's permission. We found out that my sister was saying this when one day he broke down, crying, asking us not to leave him. After we told him that would never happen, he explained what my sister and her husband were saying. Luke knows that he's not my biological son, but he is my son. After that, I cut contact with my sister and her husband again, and did family therapy and individual therapy for my son. When I had my son, 1 pregnancy, 2 children, I made it clear that our love for him, Luke, didn't change. When my sister reached out about 2 years later, I decided to go low contact with her with the okay with my son and husband. My husband and I live comfortably while my sister and her husband struggle sometimes financially. My kids did extracurricular activities, got the presents they wanted, and went on one big family trip in the summer, while my sister and her husband couldn't afford much. So when my niece was around 9, my sister started making comments about how I needed to pay for this or that for my niece, but I told her it wasn't my job. I gave my niece the gifts she wanted, took her out from time to time, but nowhere near how I would treat my own kids. Now my son, 2nd, is turning 17, and my husband and I were talking about getting him a cheap starter car. We did the same for Luke when he was 17. My niece is also turning 17, and apparently my sister told her she was going to get a car too. The thing is, my sister can't afford to buy her a car, so she asked me to, but I told her I wasn't going to buy her a car, that I didn't promise her one, and that it's not my job to get her one. My sister then got mad and didn't talk to me for a while. When my son's 17th birthday came around, we surprised him with a car. My niece then called me a couple of days later, screaming and crying, asking me why I hate her and why I can't treat her the same as her brother. I calmly told her things were different. Her brother is my son while she is my niece. I'm her aunt and nothing more. That as an aunt, my job was birthday presents, Christmas presents, and showing up when it mattered. That was it. That her brother will always be more to me than she'll ever be. Then my niece started yelling at me again, telling me that I'm being unfair, and hung up. My sister then called me to berate me about how I need to do more. I told her if she wouldn't have promised a car to her or my money to my niece know of this, wouldn't have happened. It's been a couple of days and I'm getting calls from some family and some of my sisters, friends calling me a bitch and some other things. I do feel bad because my kids did grow up with more and I guess I could have helped more. So for what I said to my niece? Update. Thank you for the advice. I really appreciate everything everyone had to say. First, I want to set something straight. I never let my sister hurt my kids like some of you think. The low contact was for my niece and that's all it was. When birthdays were coming up, we would talk about birthdays or holidays. The conversation would consist of when I would pick up my niece. Let's call her Emily. How long I would keep her and when I would drop her off back home. My sister never kept my kids, never been to my house, and never talked to them without me or my husband present. Now another reason for the civil relationship with my sister is because Emily and my second son, let's call him Justin, went to the same school. So any type of school event that was going on, my sister was there. My kids and niece had a good relationship before the car situation. Justin and Emily had a close relationship, and Emily and Luke had a friendly relationship. I always made sure my kids were happy, where my sister was in their life, which is basically non-existent, except for some school events and some big family get-together. Update 2 days after Emily's call, I decided to call her to meet up with her. We decided to meet at a park that's a few minutes away from my home. When we met, Emily seemed normal but a little bit tired. I told her I didn't mean to hurt her in any way, but she needs to understand it's not my job because I'm not her parent. She said she understood that, but she was jealous that her brother, Luke, and Justin got everything that they wanted. I told her that first, Luke isn't her brother but a cousin. Second of all, they don't get everything they want. They work for it. They get good grades, do chores, stay out of trouble for the most part. I then asked her the real reason for why she was acting this way, that she never had a problem before this. She then started crying, saying it wasn't fair that Luke and Justin get everything they want while she gets barely anything. That Luke lucked out in life by being adopted by my husband and that she deserves to have what my sons have. That she is my family, so I have to take care of her too. I told that she is part of my family but not my child. That I do love her but she's not my responsibility. I then asked her why she feels so strongly about it. She said that even though her parents do take good care of her, she feels like she's just an obligation to them. When she sees how Luke and Justin were raised, she gets jealous because, in her eyes, we don't look at the boys as an obligation. That we are a family that's always together and always works through problems and helps each other. That even though I stayed in her life and took her out with my family, she always felt jealous that she had to be that one to leave. That she felt second place, and since I took in Luke, I should take her in with no problem. I told her that while I understand her feelings, I'm not going to treat her as my kid. I didn't raise her, but I do love her. That it's her parents' job to get her a car or to help her get one. Then she got more upset, saying that I clearly don't care about her, and she left. I texted her saying that I do care for her, but I'm not her mom and it's not my job. After I got home, my husband and I talked and we decided to call my sister. I told her that my family and I are going full no contact. My sister then asked about how I'm going to get in contact with Emily. I told her Emily is almost an adult, she can contact me if she wants. She then asked me if I was going to get Emily a car. I said no. I told her that it's her job, that she's her mother and needs to act like it. Emily needs her to be a mom, and hung up the phone, blocked and deleted her number. The next day, to my sister. This has caused my parents to have a huge fight, which led my dad to packing a suitcase, staying in a motel for a bit. Now I'm no contact with my sister and mom. I'll be going low contact with my niece for now. Thank you again for the advice that everyone had given me. Update 2 months. About a week after the post, I decided to talk to Emily. We decided to meet at my home. I asked everyone not to be home because I wanted her and I to talk privately. When she showed up, she didn't really want to look at me, and I asked her if I could give her a hug. She nodded her head, and the minute I hugged her, she cried. She said she was sorry for how she acted, and I told her she didn't need to apologize. I asked her about how her parents treat her again to understand more about what's going on. She told me that her dad treats her well and he tries to spend time with her, but he's busy because he works 2 jobs. While my sister is home more, she usually just keeps to herself and doesn't really like to be bugged. I then asked her if she feels like she's been neglected. She said no, just sometimes they don't have family time that much because her parents argue a lot, especially about money. That sometimes her mom does make her feel like an obligation, but she knows that they do love her. I then asked her about the money my mom took from the retirement fund. She said that she and my sister were going car shopping soon. I then brought up her calling Luke her brother and if she feels that way about him. She said she sees him like a cousin and she thought if she played the brother card would feel inclined to help her. She then explained that even though they are biological siblings, they are cousins and will always be cousins. I then asked her if she adopted Luke. She said that she knew her dad.
Oh baby 조금씩 내게 와 No baby 넌 빠르진 않게 달빛이 찬란한 오늘 밤 날 비추는 너의 moonlight 널 바라보는 내 눈빛에 별빛을 가득히 담아서 이 밤이 끝날 때까지 환히 비추는 난 너의 starlight 서툴던 내 떨림에 널 향해 뛰는 심장을 감출 수가 없어 나는 고백할게 내 살며시 닿는
We had a good time. I then took her to a bookstore because she loves to read, and I bought her a couple of books that she's been wanting. When Emily and I were supposed to have our second weekend out, I had to cancel because Justin ended up in the hospital. While at football practice, he started wheezing a little bit and he took his inhaler but didn't wait the appropriate time. He then got tackled, which knocked the wind out of him and caused him to have a bad asthma attack. This happened on a Friday and Justin stayed at the hospital till Sunday. Emily and I were supposed to go out Saturday, and that morning I called her and told I had to cancel. Before I could tell her why, she started yelling at me saying I never cared about her and hung up the phone. I tried calling her back but it went straight to voicemail. Then I sent her a text saying that I didn't mean to hurt her but Justin was in the hospital and that we can have our day next weekend. I never heard back from her. I gave up on reaching out to her after a couple of days. 2 days ago, my family and I were out for a family night when my neighbors called saying that they called the cops because someone was vandalizing one of our cars. When we got home, the cops were there and it was Justin's car. The car had scratches, little dents, and paint. There are 2 broken windows. My husband and I checked our security footage. You could clearly see Emily and someone else vandalizing the car. My husband gave the video copy to the police and Emily and her friend got arrested next morning. My sister and mom came to my house, screaming that I was ruining my niece's life and if I loved her I would drop the charges. My husband is admitted that we don't drop the charges and Justin and Luke agree with my husband. A lot of people have asked Luke's view on everything, so I decided to talk to him. He said he's over everything and it's best to cut contact with everyone, even Emily, because she's just like her mom. So we are cutting contact with everyone except for my dad. Subscribe.